Welcome to the artistic process, brought to you, of course, by Movement Apparel. Please use my discount code I am an artist for 15% off at checkout and visit movementapparel.ca for all of the latest street style sportswear inspired by dancers. I am your host, Giulia Tripoli, and today, as we celebrate the one and only Hollywood Jade, I have the honor of co-hosting with Roy of Unplugged. Hollywood is a staple in the dance community. He is a choreographer, teacher, artistic director, and an all-around amazing human. He is an inspiration to so many, and I am pleased to have him featured in episode 4, The Artist and the Ultimate Pivot. Take it away, Roy.
We're back. Hope you guys missed us. I know it's been a 2-month hiatus for the Unplugged podcast, but I'm here with my co-host and newly appointed podcast host of the artistic process, Giulia Tripoli.
Hello, friends.
And today we're welcoming Hollywood Jade.
Hollywood Jade! Woo!
Hi! I'm so excited to be doing this, Roy, finally. And that we're doing it with Giulia. This is perfect.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. We can do a bit of a fusion or a hybrid type of episode where we get to promote, both of our shows, and this should make for some really very interesting conversation. So
it should, and what better person to do it with than Hollywood Jade? Full disclosure, I totally asked him to do my podcast, and he said, "Listen, I have to be loyal to Roy. I told him I would be unplugged first."
Let's go.
So this was our way of solving that problem.
Exactly.
No, and I try to be a man of my word. And Roy had asked me, and I'm like, I would love to. I just don't think I have anything that I want to say right now. And because I didn't have anything to contribute to the conversation, I kept my mouth shut. But with everything that's going on in the world and, this huge thing in my career, it's like, now I got stuff to say.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So I guess, for those listening and, have tuned into the Unplugged podcast for a while, I start off every episode with the exact same question. So Hollywood, where does your journey in dance begin?
My journey in dance begins with an individual. His name is Bobby Brown. He was the first time I saw somebody on TV that I remember that looked like me, and whatever he was doing and whatever he was wearing, that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I wanted to wear. He was just so, and I remembered him from like New Edition, vaguely, but like when he came out with his solo project, that every little step and that whole visual, and I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. So that Bobby Brown is really what started it for me. And I, if memory serves me correct, around that same time, I was going home from school. I might have been in like grade 1, and I went into this community center. They were having like a dance, and I went into the middle of this dance and just started doing the Running Man.
Nice.
And I won a cassette. And
don't say you won a cassette.
I won a cassette.
For the children listening, a cassette is.
I'm a man of a certain age. I mean, I don't look it, but we out here.
Yeah, we're not gonna disclose that today.
No.
Yeah, it was, and that feeling of being in that environment and all eyes on me and everybody was cheering and they were so in awe of this little kid in his winter jacket and his winter boots out here doing this latest dance craze. I got bit that moment. I was like, oh, okay. I got the same thing Bobby Brown got. Let's go.
That I love all of that. You talk about, you've said this to me a few times and you've said it, I guess you could say, on air. And I want to take, the beginning of your journey and bring it through a little bit. And you always talk about your 4 stripes, your 4 badges. These are things that you carry with you at all times. How did you carry those with you from that first dance moment into now, and what are those 4 stripes for everybody that doesn't know already?
Thank you for asking that, because more so now than ever, I've become more vocal about my stripes. And my stripes are that I am Caribbean, I am Jamaican and Guyanese, I am Canadian born in like Calgary, Alberta.
Yes.
So it's very Canadian. Um, I am queer, and I am black. And these are things that I have carried with me for as long as I can remember, especially once I was able to identify each of them. Like, obviously, growing up in a Jamaican household, that was prevalent. But my dad is Guyanese, and I didn't grow up around my dad. So understanding and learning that culture as I got older became important in one of my stripes. And then finding myself in this crazy world that is the LGBTQ plus community, and owning my space and really discovering who I was really helped shape the black man that I am. A lot of it I learned as I went along, you know what I mean? Even saying verbally that these are my stripes is a new thing for me, even though I've always worn them proudly and I've always carried them proudly. But vocalizing it, I think, is a new thing, and I think is very timely considering, the state of the world.
Thank you.
That's great. Now, I think a lot of people, especially like locally, I know or I'd like to think that they know that you own a company, a heels company, Urbanesque. And this question actually came from one of your members. Can you recall the first time you wore a heel, and how did that make you feel?
The first time I wore a heel, I mean, I was probably playing dress up not probably, I was definitely playing dress up as a kid. And I don't think it was the first time I put them on that it did something for me. I was dancing for a drag queen, and they were like, "Yeah, we made the routine, we did all of the things," and then we get to the show, and they hand me my bag with my costume, and there's heels in there, and I'm like, I'm supposed to do everything that in a what? And I literally had to figure it out in that moment and be like, okay. And there was something so liberating about me being a boy by birth, being a male by birth, dancing in this overly effeminate way in this feminine shoe. It all just clicked to me. Like it felt like the final piece of the puzzle that I needed to complete all the questions that I had growing up, and finding myself. It liberated me in such a way that I couldn't even imagine. Like, I didn't realize that I wasn't liberated until I had that moment. Like, you know what I mean? Because by that point, I'm out here in these streets, and I'm dancing, and I'm twirling, and I'm the bee's knees. She's young and she's cute. She's black and she's talented. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of like chocolate boys doing commercial dance. So I was an anomaly. And then you mix it in with being able to tap into that feminine energy. It all just came together. Like I remember being like, wow, okay, and I need to explore this more. Literally, like I walked around the rest of the night in the shoe. I was like, yes, girl, I'm here.
These
I
are
made
mine
it.
now.
Basically.
Because
yeah, it
felt,
was great.
Yeah, and because you felt that liberation, and because you felt that kind of freedom all of a sudden, did that automatically transport you into wanting to create Urbanesque, or did that come later? And then I know there was a hiatus of Urbanesque and then a recreation. Can you walk me through? Can you walk me through that
Yeah,
real
I can
quick?
pump you through it, girl.
You can pump me through that real quick.
Okay, and I'm gonna make sure that my knees are stretched as I'm doing it because bent knees
Yes,
are a
please.
sign
Thank
of weakness.
you. Work.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So it didn't start right away. I had been choreographing, and I realized through conversation with other people and just talking that my work wasn't translating because it belonged in a different medium. Because at the time there was only like choreographers ball or milk and honey, where you came in and you did a piece and everybody clapped and told you were great.
Mm.
My brand and style of choreography was different than everybody else's. Like I helped introduce Vogue to the Toronto dance community. I did a
Mm.
piece at Milk and Honey, and I had this like Missy remix in there, and everybody afterwards was like, "What song was that? What were you doing?" Everyone was so fascinated. Um,
Mm.
I was fortunate enough to travel when I was young um, to New York and experience like gay nightlife and the ballroom culture in New York, and I wanted to, and I saw myself in there, but not really. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I really wanted to be a dancer. Like, my passion and my drive was like, I want to dance. I want to perform. This is what I want to do. And as my career continued to advance, I fell into choreography. I never wanted to be a choreographer, and I want to make this clear to everybody. Like it was never my intention or my goal to be a choreographer because I didn't actually know what a choreographer was, right?
Mm.
I I made up the dances, but I didn't know that I was a choreographer. Like I've been choreographing since I was in the second grade. I made up a routine to SW. No, seriously, SWV's "I'm So Into You" and taught it to all my
Woo.
little girlfriends at recess. And I was like, "No, you stand here and you stand there," and like it was so cute. I'm like connecting. I'm connecting extension cables from my classroom, feeding it out the window
That's
so I can have
awesome.
the shapes up outside. Just listen, in Scarborough, St. Martin de Porres, shout out to St. Martin de Porres and all the girls who just let me boss them around. But I didn't know that that was a job. I didn't know that when I watched all of these music videos and these movies that one person or a team of people was responsible for putting this together, right?
Mm.
And once I got into the entertainment industry and I started working and I was doing things, and I then started realizing, oh wait, I can actually have a career in this. I can actually make a life out of being a dancer. Um,
Mm.
and because again, in my mind, the only way that I could perform, because I realized that I was not a singer. I mean, I can hold a tune, but I'm not Bobby Brown. I'm one of the guys to his right or to his left, and I thought the
Right.
only way that I could do that here was through musical theater, because at the
Mm.
time there really wasn't a lot of things happening, and I didn't know how to get in. Like it was this goal and this dream that I thought I had to get onto Broadway and do Broadway for a little bit, and then somebody would see me and put me in a movie, and then I'd be a star. I didn't
Oh.
realize that dance was the vehicle that I wanted to get in and drive myself there.
Mm.
And it evolved because I started teaching drop-in classes because Jay Blaze, I was a part of Blaze Entertainment, and she didn't
Yes.
want to teach her beginner class anymore. And I don't know what it is, how she saw it or what it was, like because I was taking class, I was in her beginner class and her advanced class. I'm like, look, I'm a sponge and I want to learn. And one day she was like, I want you to teach the beginner class, and I panicked and I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna teach? And Destiny Child had just come out with Can You Keep Up?
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Mm-hmm.
my class for like 3 weeks. I just taught that and I kept adding on, and that's really how it started. That was the beginning of my choreographer career in the commercial dance world, and then it just kept snowballing, right? And things kept happening, and I was like, okay, yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll do this, but my work wasn't translating in dance within the dance community. Like everyone was like,
Mm.
yeah, it was cute, but like I wasn't getting the same response that a Leon was getting, or I don't remember who else was choreographing at the time, or like, like I
Yeah.
just wasn't getting that. And I stepped away and I was like, what is it? Because the work is good, but it just felt too brief. My work belongs in
Ah.
context,
Mm.
right? Like
Mhm.
it's storytelling, and it's hard to tell a story in 3 minutes.
Right.
And that's my brand of choreography. And I had to learn to do that eventually because I can do that now. But at the time, I was like, I want to take all these pieces that I've done that I really, really love and I really, really want to do more work on, and I want to create a show. And I didn't know what kind of show, but I'm like, I want to create a show. And this time I had started working in I was working back and forth between here and LA. I was assisting a lot, and burlesque came out, and I'm like, oh my god, I love burlesque. And I would go to like burlesque shows in LA, and I was like, I went to the box in New York. I was like, I love this brand of vaudeville feel, but I'm like, I still want it to feel urban. And then
Right.
that's when I literally came up with fusing the two together and taking this body of work that I already had. Some was in heels and some wasn't, but I'm like, let's put everybody in a shoe and let's go. And
Let's
I
go.
talked to Jennifer Jones at Joy of Dance, and she was like, okay, let's do this. I had an audition. The girls came. We put on a little show March 17th, 2011.
Oh, come on.
And and I will never forget. That's my daughter's birthday. Urbaness is my daughter. How can I forget her birthday?
Mm.
Yeah, and we did it, and the response was so overwhelming. It literally felt like all the applause that I should have gotten for all the pieces that I did that I never got, I got that night.
Mm.
And the girls were so enthralled, and everybody was like, you have to do this again, you have to do it again, you have to do it again. And I'm like, you know what, there's a demand, let's do it. And tried to do it again in June of the same year, and that was a bit of a kibosh, a little bit,
Mm.
because it ended up being the same weekend as MMVA's. And then some of the girls auditioned and booked it. I was supposed to be the assistant choreographer on a job for Bruno Mars that year. And, like, we all had a decision to make. And
Right.
yeah, I think that was the first time we all were faced with like the realities of the industry. Because,
Mm.
yeah, it was a hard decision for most.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And
that was
that's
a
why
long
it
answer.
kind of,
Sorry.
yeah, no, that's great though, because it gives us a lot of insight. But just to circle back, that's why like it kind of went down for a bit and then resurfaced more recently because I got to choreograph for one of your latest Urbanesque shows and you have a whole new cast
Hmm.
and a whole new vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, so what ended up happening with the company was we were doing these shows, but no money was coming in. Because what a lot of people don't know is that I do everything for Urbaness. I produce, direct, choreograph, stage, wardrobe, and all of this was coming out of my pocket. I didn't have sponsorship. I didn't have anything. So the venue, programs, photo shoots, music, chair rentals, table rentals, light,
All of it.
extra lighting, like all of it was
Mm.
coming out of my pocket. And what it looked like from the outside is I have this successful company and we're doing these shows, but nobody's making any money.
Mm.
Um, and again, we were young and we were getting into the industry, and industry definitely got into the company, and it there was feelings of where's the money if we're charging this much for tickets and this many people came, we made this much money, where's the money? And I'm
Mm.
like, I hear you guys, but I have to pay for the venue. I have to pay for this. I have to pay for this. I have to pay for this. The money that we did end up making would either go into the company, or I would normally like throw a barbecue or something as a thank you and just tell everybody to show up, and I take care of all the food, because there really wasn't money coming in. Like, and
Right.
I can't stress it enough. Like, our profits were maybe like $1,000. And
Mm.
that would be a good show. Like that was the good one when I walked away with a plus.
Right, right.
And eventually egos, attitudes, personality clashes, and everything sort of just dissipated.
Mm.
Um, Everybody sort of went their own way and was doing their own thing, and I was very heartbroken, um, because I sacrificed a lot for the company and for the girls who were in the company. And what it felt like to me is everybody very quickly just walked away. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it wasn't a good time for me because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like my family had abandoned me. I felt like I was left holding this thing by myself that I couldn't hold up alone.
Mm.
So she sort of got put on the back burner, and I sort of isolated myself away from the dance community and started focusing more heavily on artists because I'm like, at least then I can control the people who are around me, and
Mhm.
or at least that's what I thought. And like I just wanted to take my career in a different direction that involved less people and less things to have to take care of independently.
Understood.
Hmm.
Understood.
Um, you've obviously done a lot of events throughout your career, but can you think of one moment or project that you've done that's been the most rewarding?
I love this question. Um, Everyone's like, "What's your favorite job?" And da da da. I'm like, and for me, it's easy because it's the job that changed everything for me, and that was hairspray.
Mm.
Mm.
And I'll say, hairspray literally was like crash course into the industry 101. But I was already in the industry, making money, working, doing the thing, right? But I learned
Yep.
so much on this project just about everything. Like standing up for yourself. Because if I didn't stand up for myself, I would have never been able to go to the callback. Um, I learned about being professional. I learned about being present. I learned that when you're on the job, you're on the job. Like the job starts the moment you wake up because what you eat, what you look at, what you think about, all of you carry all of that with you all day.
Mm.
Like I really learned about working, and hairspray created a lot of relationships for me, that I still have to this day that have been super beneficial, not just career wise, but personally. You know, one of the dancers on the project, her name was Ebony Nichols, and I don't know what it was about me, but Ebony took a liking to me. And if anyone who knows Ebony Nichols knows that she's not like the hi, how are you doll. Ebony is an LA doll through and through, okay? Like
Mm.
she is born and well, California. Born and raised, and like she's been in it for as long as you can imagine. She's done all of the things. Like she saw the world when it was good to see the world. And you
Mm.
know, she's a dancer of a certain age now, but even at the time, like I was a baby. I was like 22 when I did hairspray. And they were like older, more mature. And what was great about being in their environment was that I was able to see what it was that I wanted because Ebony danced for, there was a bunch of them: Ebony, Holly, Arike, Tani. All of these girls were like, Tani was in the That Girl Marcus Houston video. Ebony's danced for Backstreet Boys, Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, Nadine Elliott's danced for Aaliyah. Like I was literally on this job with all the people that I grew up looking at on my TV or was currently still looking at on my TV.
Mm.
You know, Jamal Sims, who choreographed for Usher, My Way video, and You Make Me Wanna, and like, and you don't have to call like, I'm working with who?
What?
It was so surreal to me, and I just soaked everything up. Like I just soaked it all up, and I think that's why they took a liking to me because they could see in me that I wanted to do the job and I wanted to be good. You know, like I'm in this room with greatness, and I am working my butt off just to be good.
Mm.
And
What
fast
was your
forward,
one line in Hairspray? What was the
uh,
line?
where's your write up?
Where's your write up? When you open the door, where's your write
Yeah,
up?
where's your write up?
So I
And even
remember that.
that, I'll say, like, even that, like, I got chosen to be that character. So when we're in rehearsal, they were like, okay, guys, after lunch, they're like, you can all pick your own names, except for Hollywood and Connect. Hollywood, you're going to be Stewie, and Connect, you're going to be Dwayne or something to that effect. And I was just like, Stewie, because Family Guy was out, you know, and I'm like, I want to be
That's the only
Stewie.
Stewie you knew.
That's the only Stewie I knew. And then Anne, one of the associate choreographers, she's like, read the script. So I'm like, all right, fine. I go home and I read the script, and it says Stewie opens the door, and Stewie says, and Stewie and what was seaweed? Stewie and seaweed do this, and seaweed, Stewie and Dwayne do this. I was like, okay. I came in the next day and was like, did you read the script? I said, yes, I did.
Yeah, and Stewie's my new favorite name. Thank you so
And
much.
I said, I'm Stewie. Nice to meet you.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So like from Urbanesque to Hairspray to the MMVAs to Black Diamond Ball and Julie Black and all of these, lessons learned and ups and downs in professionalism prepared you for another pretty major announcement, being the first ever resident choreographer of Canada's Drag Race, which is a win-win-win for so many people and so many things. Can you talk a little bit about how that role came to be for you?
Um, this is a funny story, and it's funny because it it literally speaks to me in my career and how I've always gotten to where I've gotten. I've never taken the front door. The front door has always been closed to me. The windows look dark, but I'm like, I can hear music inside. So let me walk around to the side or to the back or climb this scaffolding and go some way, somehow I'm getting into this party. Okay. And that literally, guys, is my career. Okay. And with Drag Race, it's no different. Um, I actually got one of the queens who, like, once the application went out, um, I was like, can somebody send me this application, please? And I literally applied like one of the queens. Um, and whoever got my email, God bless her, because it could have went very differently. I literally shot in the dark. I'm like, I don't know how else I'm going to get in this, and I don't want to sit around and wait for them to put out a call for choreographers. At least if they do that eventually, I'm already on the list, right?
Yep.
So she responds to my application, and she's like, can I call you? And I'm like, sure. All geeked out. She calls me, and she's like, so I got your application, and we laughed. She's like, you clearly sent this to the wrong place, but I wanted to call you to see if you felt like your email. And I'm like, well, do I? She's like, you feel better than your email. I was already going to send it to the casting people who will handle this part, but I'm going to make sure that the person who needs to see this sees this. And I was like, wow, thank you. She's like, no, thank you. All right. Fast forward.
Sure.
Yeah, fast forward. Whoever needed to get it got it. And her name is Heather Morin, and she says, do you have any footage of yourself talking? I'm like, I'm sure I can find something. And I go through that whole process, and she's like, this is brilliant. I literally learned to edit that night, guys. Like, I don't edit, and I had to learn because I had all this footage of me talking in different places, but I needed to compile it into one thing. So I made this Hollywood demo reel of me speaking, and I sent it to her, and she emails me, "Can I call you?" I said, "Sure." I'm loving this "Can I call you" thing, by the way.
Yeah.
At this point, and she says, "That's perfect." I'm like, "Oh, yay, great." She's like, "You just had this on hand?" I was like, "No, um, I threw it together last night." She's like, again, same thing. I'm gonna make sure the people who need to see it. And it went to all the powers that be, and I get a phone call from, well, actually, I got another email saying, "Can I call you?" Yes.
Love
And
it.
then I get a phone
Yes,
call
you can. Yes,
from,
you can.
absolutely. And then I got a phone call from the producer, Mike Bickerton, and he said, "We have, um, it's a process and this," and he's giving you, the regular conversation that people give you when they're stalling before they tell you you didn't get the job. And
Mm.
he said to me, uh, "RuPaul, World of Wonder, Crave Canada, Bell Media, and their company, Saloon Media, have all unequivocally decided that I am the right person to be the resident choreographer for the first season of RuPaul's
Mm.
Canada's resident
Well,
choreographer for the first season
well,
of Canada's Drag Race." Wow.
well deserved, man. Well deserved.
So well
It's been a
deserved.
journey, man. It has been a journey, I tell
Mm.
you.
Speaking of journeys, we're gonna, I guess, like talk about the future for a bit because
Hmm.
it's a very, I guess you can say like it's a very scary time right now. I think with the coronavirus happening, the BLM movement, and all this talk about the sexual assault, and all these stories coming forward. What do you think the future of the entertainment industry is going to look like?
Mm.
I think the future of the entertainment industry is going to look like a lot of online things.
Mm,
I feel like
Yep.
the days of the cattle call are over. I mean, they were basically already over.
yeah.
Um, but I feel like cattle calls are definitely done. I feel like, at least for the Canadian industry,
Hmm.
anybody who has prepared themselves and is ready, it's going to be your time to shine, because production is going to start back here at some point.
Yeah.
And when it does, there's no guarantee that the borders are going to be open. So there's going to be a lot of space for Canadian talent to come in and fill these roles. And
Mhm.
when I say fill, I don't mean temporarily. Like, I need everybody to understand that I am here to stay.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we're going. I feel like Canada is Canadians are finally going to be able to be represented in Canada in leading roles and in great content.
I
As
agree.
I feel like it should have been, but we somehow managed to get overlooked in our own cities and in our
Mhm.
own country, and hopefully this gives people the little boost that is needed. And what also needs to happen is some continuous conversing and building of new tables and proper people leading the way and dismantling those in power that shouldn't be there. And
Mhm.
Hollywood, you and I have spoken a lot about this, but it's also putting a stop to unconscious enabling.
Yeah.
And for us to move forward now in the future, you can give people a pass when they are not aware of things. But now that people are being made aware of so much, whether it be the sexual assault allegations that Roy brought up, or the Black Lives Matter movement, or the adjustments for health and safety in COVID, what would be some unconscious enabling that people can now be aware of that they will not bring forward into the future of this dance community?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I learned that lesson a long time ago. Don't swear for nobody but yourself. And even
Mm-hmm.
then, girl, be careful with that because
Right.
we all have drunken nights. But uh, but I think for me, my mandate is going to be to continue doing what it is that I have been doing already. I'm already a clean person. Like, like I
Mm-hmm.
wash my hands and I sanitize. So even just in that regard, like when it comes on to health and well-being, like I think I'm just going to continue to implement these things and make sure the people around me are doing it.
Mm.
When it comes on
Accountability.
to the unconscious enabling, I mean, I don't enable. I'm not that guy. Like
Yeah.
if me and you aren't cool, you know that we're not cool, and you know why we're not cool. And if you don't,
Mm.
call me. And if you don't have my phone number, then you shouldn't have an issue with me
Woo.
Mm.
Agreed,
because
agreed. And some of it, so much of it, I think, like you said, is if you think you're already somebody who's not doing any of the enabling, it's perhaps holding others accountable if you see it happen in your space so that we can
yeah.
continue to provide better spaces. What do you think?
Um I agree, and I think like we are in call out culture right now.
Mhm.
Mm,
And there is there's a degree of that I am here for, but I'm also here for holding people accountable. Like you know what I mean? Like if
yeah.
I have an issue with somebody, I bring that issue to them. I'm not gonna talk around them, behind them, beside them. No, hey, can we talk? And let's
Mm-hmm.
have it out, and we can agree to disagree. You can go your way, I'll go mine. But nobody can say that they are unsure when it comes to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it's got to be about holding people accountable. So if you are in a space where you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel safe or you see something that's wrong, just because you're a dancer in a space where there's a choreographer doesn't mean that you can't say something. Now now dancers don't get out of pocket now. Don't start acting all crazy and and messing with the flow of things, but wrong is wrong and right is right.
Yeah.
And if you are working in a space with somebody who you can't communicate that with, why do you want to work in that space?
Mm, mm,
Like,
mm.
and I get that choreographers are in the hierarchy of the room, are at the top of it until the artist or whoever comes in. But like, there still needs to be a mutual respect because without
Absolutely.
dancers, choreographers, we ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think somewhere along the lines that got blurred and that got lost, and we need to get back to a place where dancers understand their value and choreographers understand dancers' value and dancers respect authority, but respecting authority doesn't mean that it's a dictatorship.
Mm,
You still got to be able to speak your mind and say your piece. And if you can't, I don't suggest you work in those environments. That's just me. I'm out if
mm-hmm.
I can't. If I can't go to somebody and be like, yo, XYZ, blah, 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 not in the middle of rehearsal, but after, hey, can I talk to you before you leave? Like, let's kick it. Like, like there needs to be that sort of open communication that happens between the two talents. And I think that's why we ended up in the place that we did with all of these accusations and the community hurting the way it's hurting
Mm.
because there isn't a mutual respect.
Mm. That's a really interesting way of putting it because if everybody respected each other with the same values and the same worth and the same truth and honor, then there wouldn't be that type of crossing of boundaries or miscommunications, etc. And that goes for, you said dancer and choreographer. I think it extends to casting directors and artistic directors and producers and anybody in
Nobody's
power kind
exempt.
of abuse it. Yeah, kind of abusing any type of power that's not someone who should be there. And people should be believed faster if they are to come forward about anything. And
Mhm.
things should definitely be, people should always feel like they're in a safe space to express something they are uncomfortable with. And like you said, Hollywood, don't mess with the flow in the sense of like, if you don't like a step or a move, you're going to be a jerk about it. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, the morality of the situation
Yeah.
and being able to feel safe and genuine and authentic and respected and valued. And I think it's super important at this time for us to recognize all of that.
I think
I couldn't
this,
agree more.
and I think it's great that you also brought that up because, and I'm going to do a little shameless plug here, but some of the posts that I've been posting lately will help you with your morals and how to at least strive for longevity in this career, right? And those are the things that you got to look at, right? How to say no, when to say no. These are very important, I guess, traits and skills that you as a aspiring professional dancer have to know. I think we've been in too many situations where we're quick to say yes. And look where it's kind of got us, and as bad as it sounds like that was essentially the normal. And now that we're in the situation, like normal has never worked. Right. So what are you now planning to do, going forward?
And what's crazy about that is, honestly, guys, I've been over here existing in my world, doing my thing, grinding, being a positive person. I ain't touching nobody's child. I ain't looking up nobody's skirt. I like, and I treat people with respect. And again, don't get me wrong. There's a whole other side, and I'll tell you about yourself. But if I'm telling you about yourself, it's because you asked me to. You know what I mean? I'm not just out here yelling at people. Like I don't dig that. Like I'm not a fan of it, and I allow people space to make their own decisions. And I watch people exist in these spaces with people who treat them like crap, and they go back and they go back and they go back, and then they want to complain about it. And I'm like, look, I don't want to hear about it because this is your choice. You're choosing to exist in this space because there are other alternatives. I think about somebody like Shamika Blake, who literally cultivates an energy around the people who work with her. If you've ever worked with Shamika, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then you have there are other alternatives, and it breaks my heart seeing all of these posts and reading all of these things, and I'm like, these poor kids. And I'd look at them and be like, there is something wrong with this person, right? Fast forward, finding out that they were being molested or taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And then I feel sick to my stomach because I'm out here judging this person, being like, girl, what is wrong with you? You look crazy. Mind you, somebody's over here making you crazy. And the fact that this is going on for so long and these people felt like they had nobody they could turn to. They had nobody that they could trust. They had nobody that they could open up to about this, leader in the community or otherwise. It's
and
crazy.
Then
it's heartbreaking.
Because of that, those people in power are still quote unquote thriving, and all of these gigs are still going for some reason to the wrong people. And that's why you, Hollywood, becoming the resident choreographer of Canada's Drag Race is a win on multiple levels, is because you didn't shit your way to the top. You didn't do all these terrible things.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
You
swear.
didn't, yeah. You didn't do all these terrible things, and you treated people with respect. But sometimes it's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel when you're not one of those sneaky humans, because that snaky way of working sometimes gets you to the top faster, and you end up staying there because you have this terrible kind of abuse of power about you that makes people keep working for you. And because nobody can stand up for themselves, if they do, you just push them aside and you get the next, kind of naive kids to come in.
Yeah.
And that's how the circle has been going in this community. But now I think is a major stopping point, because people are being named and people are not afraid to now say no to those gigs because they can see people like you, Hollywood, up there and able to still give them the good stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's what's
Giulia,
able to give these people hope.
You bring up such a good point. I have always, and I have always fought for the underdog because I feel
Mm,
like I'm the underdog. People look at me and they'll be like, yeah, right, because I dress well and I'm cute. At one point I had like all 8 of my abs. So they look at me and wouldn't think that I'm the underdog. But guys, I got told no a lot. I got rejected a lot for things that I
mm,
couldn't change.
Mm.
And as a
mm,
result of that, I never wanted anybody to feel that way. I never wanted to create a space and an environment where it you felt like you were being used.
mm.
Because I've been on jobs, even in my grown self, where I felt like I was being used. But I can only be mad at myself because I said yes to this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that this is giving a chance that people can see that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, you've given a great example. Roy and the Dance Plug has given great examples, and I'll come out by straight up saying, you can say no to these people, and I promise you, your careers will still be there.
Yeah.
I'll hire
Right.
you. Hollywood will hire you. Roy will help you. Like there will be good people for you, and that will come in tenfold if you say no to these wrong people.
Yeah. I think
Right.
the other
Because
thing
in
too, I
you
just want to,
sorry, Ro.
sorry,
Oh,
I just want to say like the other thing too is that, the moment you carry yourself at a higher standard, like the same people who also carry themselves in that standard will be with you the whole way through, I've spoken with a lot of dancers who decided to turn down these like low paying gigs. And the moment they decided to, hold themselves to a higher standard, they realized how much more professional these gigs were, how much, I don't know. I guess like
yeah.
you get what, I mean, not to say that you get what you pay for, but like you, the higher you keep,
You do.
yeah, the higher you hold yourself at a standard, like-minded people will be in that realm as well. Right.
Yes.
And it's a much more, I guess it's a better environment to be around, because you want to surround yourself with these people consistently.
I'm gonna give
100%. You
you an
are the company
example.
you keep.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
gonna give you. Sorry, go Julia. When you're finished,
No,
I'll
I
go.
was just saying you are the company you keep. And if you keep yourself at a low standard, your company, your work, your environment will be at a low standard. If you hold yourself to a higher standard, like Roy said, you will be able to keep a higher standard of company, work, environment, knowledge, education, etc. Like that's how that
Okay.
works. Hollywood, you had an example you said?
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring it back to Drag Race really quick. The same
Awesome.
producer who was on Drag Race, who called me and said blah 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 and all these things to me, he said to me, Hollywood, I've been following your career for way longer than you even realize. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He
Hmm.
said, I remember the day that you got cut from So You Think You Can Dance.
Oh,
And
wow.
all of
Wow.
the, exactly,
Wow.
exactly. Season 1. I
Wow.
remember. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I was a PA on season 1 of So You Think You Can Dance Canada.
Wow.
Jeez.
And I remember when you got cut.
Mm.
And this man has been following my career this whole time and just waiting for the opportunity to be like, here you go.
Mm.
And
Wow. See, be a good person. Oh.
the fact that everybody else though, because he's one person in the equation, the fact that everybody else saw the same thing,
Wow.
Mm.
you can't
It,
look.
it will come. It will come.
Yeah.
Because I
Wow.
thought I was gonna make season 1 of So You Think, y'all. I was like, I am chocolatey, I am cute, I do this because I literally went through my head. I was like, okay, how is this gonna work? It's Canada, so there's not gonna be too many of us, I'm like, what do I have? Facts. I'm like, what do I have that makes me different? I was like, oh, I do all different styles of dance, and I'm charismatic, and it baby. There was no hope or prayer for me in that no, it was not gonna work out.
No.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
And
And then
I,
we
I
only
was
had 4 seasons, and then it died.
I was devastated though because
Yeah.
I literally in my mind I was like I got this, and everybody around me was like, Hollywood, you're perfect for this. Like go, nah.
You know what,
And
Hollywood?
look,
I think we got to nurture that that relationship. There could be way more opportunities there if there are people like that in the industry. These I think those are people that we gotta keep an eye out for.
And I talked about her in my other interview, but I bring Stephanie up all the time because this girl auditioned for me, honestly, probably more than anybody ever has. If I put on an audition, she submitted. If I had one in person, she was there. Audition over and over and over again. But it wasn't right. It just wasn't right. And her determination and that drive, I see myself in her. I see how badly she wants it and how much work she's willing to put in to get it. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to keep doing what I'm doing to cultivate an environment for the Stephanies and the Hollywoods of the world.
Yes, and dancers out there need to trust the timing and the relationships of their lives, because if everything didn't happen according to your original plan, Hollywood, I don't think you would be where you are. That's the whole point. We have to do the redirecting. We have to do the bounce back. We have to take 2 steps forward to do 1 step back, or whatever it is, back forward. It's all kinds of different stuff. You know what I mean? And we have to trust that timing and keep working hard so we can end up where it is that we are meant to end up.
I have a friend named Brian Terrell Clark. He played George Washington in Hamilton, the musical. And he was on a podcast not too long ago, and I was listening to him talk, and he said, champions pivot. And I started to cry. And I cried because I was like, wow, my entire life has been a pivot. All I do is pivot. I keep pivoting. And then I pivoted, and the ball got passed to me. Because I was finally open. And now I got this ball. I'm running with this, guys. Look, I'm going. I am running. I am running. And anyone who's listening to this and you're looking to hire somebody with passion, vigor, and drive, call your boy, because I'm ready.
Pass him the ball. Pass him the ball.
I'm ready. Pass me the ball. Put me in, coach.
Put me in, coach.
Now, I've got one last question just to wrap it up, and I know Giulia's got a follow-up after this, but do you have any advice to aspiring professional dancers, given the implications of COVID right now?
My advice to aspiring dancers would be to cultivate relationships. Relationships is what has kept me in this industry. Relationships is what has made me a smarter choreographer and artistic director. Relationships are what make it possible for me to do all of the things that I do. When I think about being the artistic director for the Black Diamond Ball and the phone calls that I have to make to try to get these artists and find dancers and so on and so on and so on and so on, if I didn't have strong relationships, that job as an artistic director would be damn near impossible. I'm an asset to companies because of the vast network that I have. On top of that, the amount of knowledge that I've acquired because of the work that I've put into it. Right? So the second thing I would tell dancers is do the work.
Yes.
There's not enough likes or double taps that is going to give you enough validation if that's the only reason you're doing it. If you're not willing to do the work, it's never going to work for you. Like, it's just not, because the industry is going to move into a very different direction, and the fluff that was existing before, because we've been sitting and paying closer attention, it's not going to work anymore. It's not. The TikTok choreography is not going to cut it on a main stage and on our TV screens and in our movies. It's not going to do it. And if you cannot do the work, and whatever the work is, sometimes the work is walking across the floor. Sometimes the work is extending a hand. But if you can't commit to that, I don't trust you with anything else. So do the work. And lastly, do not make your decisions based off of a check solely and the potential of of like, because the job seems cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't
Yeah.
make the decisions based solely off of these things, i.e., don't do the MMVAs for $250.
Facts. Big facts.
Don't work with somebody you know is an asshole and then be mad that they're treating you like an asshole.
Yeah.
Weird how that works.
Crazy, right?
Crazy. My dear, last question from me is recognizing that we are in a movement and not a moment. What are your hopes for the dance community to better ourselves when it comes to everything going on right now?
I'm sorry, you said we are in a movement, not a moment?
Yes, sir.
Can we give that a moment, please? That shook me. All right. One more time.
Recognizing recognizing that we are in a movement, not a moment. What are your hopes for the dance community in order to better ourselves in the future?
My hope is that the conversations that are being had around everything, Black Lives Matter, Me Too movement, all of the allegations around studio etiquette, around who should be teaching, around culture appropriation, all of it. I hope that these conversations continue, because
Mm,
we are flawed, and we are creatures of habit, and we will fall back into the same things. So when we get out of this, finally, I don't want everybody to just go back to the status quo, because that was not working for most of us, obviously.
right.
Right? I don't even think the people who were doing it was working for them, to be completely honest. Julia, we saw that expressed in the chat with you the other day, like,
Yes.
everybody is
Yes.
trying to be better, everybody's trying to be accountable, and I think we just have to hold everybody accountable. So if
Yeah.
you are working at a studio where you see injustice or something is labeled incorrectly, call it out
Mm,
in a respectful way, because I want to stress that I'm not telling everybody to go out here and be thumb heroes and start cussing everybody off. That's not what I'm saying.
right.
There's a way in which you can deliver a message so that whoever you're delivering it to, they can receive it,
Mm.
Right.
right? And
Right.
that's why I don't like call out
Yes.
culture. I like holding people accountable, but I don't like call out culture, because call out culture is you trying to put yourself on a pedestal and make yourself feel like you are bigger, better, and badder than anybody else. And that,
Mm,
sis, I'm not here for. I don't want it.
right. But
Because
to
how are we
kindly
growing?
educate is
Yeah.
is is the way to do it. Okay. I
It
I,
has to,
I
it
like
has to,
that.
because it has to be about education. Choreographers are nothing more than teachers of dance,
Yeah.
right? And what does a teacher do?
Educate.
Hi. And
Yeah.
if we can't get back to that being a fundamental truth, if on every job, choreographers, we are not inspiring, educating, and furthering people, what are you doing it for?
Mm.
Mm, mm.
Everybody who works with me walks away with more than just a check.
Facts. Yes.
I
Yes, yes, yes,
watched
yes,
my
yes.
Urban S show, and I literally watched from the beginning of the show to the second time this girl came on, Zoe. I saw her transform. I don't know what happened. She was in the first number, and I was like, girl, this is not it. No, no. And then she came on the stage the next time, and I was like, well, damn. And she said to
Hello.
me after, she said, honestly, Hollywood, I hated you during the process of the first show. I hated you. And I said, I knew you would, but look at you now, out here being great shining. Okay? But
You got to keep it going.
she was willing to do the work, man.
It all comes
And
back to it. Yeah,
Mm.
I can't
it
stress it
does. It
enough.
does. No, it's
Everything that
you're
I
so
got, I
right.
worked for. Nothing was given to me. Nothing. Everything I got, I worked for. Despite people trying to cut me off from jobs because I was gay, despite people being like, he's not dark enough or he's too dark, despite, oh, he's too tall, or all of it, I still showed up and I still did the work.
Yes. So everybody needs to do the work, and we need to continue all of these conversations, and we need to keep
Hmm.
doing the best we can. Hollywood, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Can I say something else really quick?
Yes, you
Go for
can.
it.
Roy, honestly, if I had a hat on, I would take it off to you
Yes.
because the work that you are doing, and it's getting me emotional. And the reason it's getting me emotional is because you've made people feel like they have a voice again. You've given a sense of community back to the dance industry, not just in Toronto. Because look at what you've done with Julia now in Montreal. I
Yes.
honestly, guys, if you see this man anywhere on the road, buy him a coffee, offer him a drink, anything. The work that you are doing is so, so, so important and is
I
so
appreciate
needed.
that.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you.
No, thank you. I think, and this is for everyone listening, I think you all give me a purpose. And for those who know who I am, like I've always put others before myself. And I'm hoping that, as you listen, you truly know now where my core values are or have been, So, regardless of, what pasts I may have had, like I've put that all aside now. And I'm hoping that, with the work that I'm doing now, it can kind of open your eyes, and, provide you with more opportunities, right? And make, definitely give you some more, or help make informed decisions as you progress with your
Informed
career.
decisions.
Yeah. Hollywood, again, a pleasure. Thank you very much for being on the show.
There is nowhere else I would rather be, honestly, and I'm glad. I'm glad that we finally were able to do this. And thank you for being patient with me. I really didn't just want to get on here and complain and gripe. Like I wanted to have something to say, and I wouldn't have had these words to say if COVID didn't happen and if Black Lives Movement didn't happen. Also, super huge shout out to the new generation of Urbanozo because these girls have breathed life back into me in a way that I didn't think was possible. So, Alessia, Sharice, Jesse, Kennedy, Lori, Mariah, Markeisha, Molly, Steph, Zoe, Matthew, Irvin, Shamika, the whole team. Like, thank you guys. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Everybody who was involved in the last production, we will be doing a screening at some point soon. I'm just waiting for the final edit. I, girls, you really have given me a second wind, and because of you, I know like they help manifest all of this drag race stuff into my life. It's I wasn't living in my purpose because I was being selfish and I was holding all of my gift in. And once I found these girls and I started releasing it again, it opened up so many doors. So I'm so grateful to all of them.
See, this is why you are the perfect person. Don't worry. This is why you're the perfect person to do this comeback for Unplugged and this hybrid episode, is because you bring so much joy in life to so many different facets of dance and to so many different people, and we couldn't think of a better person to do this with.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm so humbled by all that's happening right now. I'm just so grateful. So grateful. My heart is so full.
Good. You deserve it.
Well, that wraps up our episode with Hollywood Jade and co-hosted with Giulia Tripoli. My name is Roy. I'm the host of the Unplugged podcast alongside my friend Giulia Tripoli of The Artistic Process. Make sure to like, review, and subscribe to both of our shows on multiple platforms, which is available on our website at thedanceplug.ca. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Unplugged podcast, which has yet to be determined. So until then, stay safe, stay creative, and we'll see you soon.
Follow me on Instagram.
Yes. Hollywood. Sorry, drop your lines. Let's go.
It's really easy. I'm basically Hollywood Jade everywhere. Instagram is Hollywood Jade. Twitter, don't follow me on Twitter. It's all smut. Facebook is Hollywood Jade. Guys, if nothing, I am honest, okay? I'm Hollywood Jade, basically. My website will be up soon. So, yeah, it'll be hollywoodjade.com as well.
Amazing. Giulia, I don't know if you want to drop your lines as well before we go.
Drop a line. That the old person in me wants to give you my phone number. Drop a line. It's all right. Everybody knows where to go at this point. It's all
Let's
good.
go, Mama G.
Cool. And if you can't find it, www.thedanceplug.ca/podcast. You will find both of our shows. Again, don't forget to like, review, and subscribe. And I think that's it.
Peace.
Bye.
Love and hair grease.
Recognizing we are in a movement, not a moment. Using our gifts as teachers to continue educating. And forever trusting the timing of our lives, we remember it is all part of the process.